forensic digging. I'm going to start my general evaluation with some general observations. The first is I had a very warm welcome. I feel I've been Googled a bit, possibly, because so many people knew who I was, even though I'd never met them before. But it made me feel really good inside. That was great. I was quite intrigued by the agenda, because it's different to any agenda that I've had before. I understand that tonight you didn't have table topics, which you normally do. You had a workshop, and that was very, very interesting. What intrigued me was that you have a chairperson and a toastmaster. Do you do that to have an extra role on an evening? I think that's a very, very clever idea, and I admire it. I just want to make another tiny observation about the agenda. There's a spelling mistake. Sergeant at Arms is spelled with an E at the beginning and not an A. And I know that because I'm trained as a barrister, and somewhere in the olden times there was Sergeant at Arms in courts, or maybe there still are Sergeant at Arms, but I'm so old it seems like olden times. The President's address, Chuck's, he came up here with a very, very clear voice, with fantastic energy, but not over-exuberant, but just an energy that energized us, that was a calm energy. And he was very, very gracious. And he used repetition, which was very, very effective. I would suggest that he actually introduced himself fully when he stands up here, even if the chairperson, the Sergeant at Arms, has said his name. I think that the President should stand and say, my name is Chucks, and I'm the President of the club. He used excellent use of English, and I felt that he was like a masthead for the club. The chairman, Keith, he used a very interesting change of dynamic at the beginning when he spoke. And when I say change of dynamic, louds and softs, I would recommend that overall, however, he speaks louder, because there was slight competition at one stage from the air, and his voice can be commanding, but it got quite soft at times. And I enjoyed the fact that he emphasized the thought of the day throughout the meeting, and I enjoyed the use of his body language. David, the timekeeper, he made the most amazing introduction to the role, with not one quote, but two quotes. I know that's really brilliant, because I can never remember a quote under pressure. That's still something I need to learn at Toastmasters. And David explained the role of timer really well. He was clear, because guests might not understand that there are 3 timings on the right-hand column of the agenda. I was a little confused with David's correlation between time and the actual content of the speeches. I thought that was a little unusual and could be quite confusing. It was clever to think of something, but I felt it was just a little bit unusual and perhaps confusing for people. He had wonderful humour though, which had to be the timing he used. And he interacted with Keith, the chairman, very, very well. The grammarian, Tony, one of the first Tonys, also came up with a lot of humour. And I thought he had a wonderful word of the day. And all the time I was thinking to myself, I must use it, there's a special place in my speech to use it. And I forgot. He described it, how it was described in the Oxford Dictionary, its full definition. I would suggest to Tony that when he reads, he lifts up whatever he's reading from, because I think we lost a lot of facial expression and sound, really, because he was reading his notes quite low down. He was very, very observant and delivered his appraisal at the end with humour. Tony, the workshop chair. The role of the general evaluator is to evaluate everybody who hasn't been evaluated before. So Tony didn't have an evaluator, so I'm just going to make a few comments. I would commend him for being so confident when something had gone wrong, standing up here when there had been what most people would feel was a disaster. he couldn't link up his computer with the screen. I observed that he actually had unusual body language to begin with until he settled down. He explained that he'd been a DJ, and actually when he started, he was moving like this quite a lot. Actually, it was as if he had imaginary earphones on his ears and was hearing the music and giving it to us. He settled down later, which was excellent because it gives more impetus to what he delivers if he is calm and centered. He can learn more about delivering a PowerPoint presentation because although we didn't see anything on the screen, there was a lot of movement with the slides, and there were obviously a huge number of slides because from what I could see, he was sliding through many slides. And I would suggest that an audience remembers better, more. I mean, less is more. I thought that Tony gave us fantastic hints, things I really didn't know at all, and I really hope that I remember. I could have done with a handout because to leave a gap between ladies and gentlemen and the rest because you command the room was just so appropriate, and so were many of the other suggestions he made. Mina, the lady toastmaster, toastmistress, I never know what to call her, lady toastmaster, but I think we'll have power, had a very warm interaction with the audience. She came up here with huge serenity, which was really commanding. She was very, very well prepared, which is fantastic as a Toastmaster, because it gives confidence to the speakers. They feel they're in safe hands. I would again suggest how Mina holds her notes, because we lost a little of the beauty of her serenity when her head was down reading her notes. And it's such a joy to watch her speaking. We wanted to catch it all. I made a note about, oh yes, I understand what this is about. Her way of explaining about the Competent Communication Manual to begin with was excellent. We have guests here, or you have guests here, and it really is helpful for them to understand what we're talking about when we're talking about use your voice, or number 4 from the CC manual, or the Competent Communication Manual, so it was very helpful. The first evaluator, ML, came up here with huge energy, and he did disclose he had notes somewhere during his speech, but he didn't use them, and that was amazing. I always admire people who can give an evaluation without notes. I would suggest that he really works hard on staying in the third person. He only actually slipped out once, and it gives so much more to every audience member if it's in the third person, because it gives them food for thought rather than a you which directs the information just to the speaker. He was very good at identifying the really good things about the first speech, particularly in identifying the emotion and the clarity. And he was excellent about the whole physical delivery of the first speaker. The second evaluator was Ashen, who gave a very clear, precede account of the speech. Again, I would recommend that he tries to keep off the third person. And I would suggest to all of you, you don't need to say thank you after you've spoken, because we should thank you as an audience for giving your time and your thought process to us all. And I thought it was a very interesting observation from Ashen when he said, the message I saw was the same one I heard, and it was the Body Speaks task today. The third evaluator, Miles, has a wonderfully clear voice. When I say it's a beautifully warm, rounded, powerful voice. Despite it being a clear voice, sometimes Miles sort of munched his words a little bit, and they lost the clarity they would have had with the tone of his voice, which was excellent. And he was very, very good at connecting the content of the speech directly to a particular skill that was shown in the speech. And I would suggest one other thing. Everybody says, I'm looking forward to your next speech. Try and alter that, change that a little bit. I think I've got through everybody, but I would like to make another particular observation. It does get very hot in this room. However, I think there's quite a lot of distraction that comes from the open door. So I would suggest that maybe you'll fan yourself, or perhaps open the windows, although maybe they're locked shut and that's why there's an air conditioner there. I've really enjoyed being here, and I will hand you back to, will it be the chairperson, to Keith?